Hey everybody, it's writer and director Len Kabasinski of Killer Wolf Films. Welcome to kind of an impromptu Fist of the Filmmaker podcast here. And when I do a Fist of the Filmmaker podcast, it's usually about my experiences as an indie film, which I've been in for a little while now, right? 20 years almost, right? Swamp Zombies, you guys remember that, right? I think, right? You've seen it? I'm sorry. But yeah, it was like 20 years ago almost now. So yeah. In this podcast, I talk about some experiences, maybe some past happenings, present happenings, maybe, like today, maybe some future happenings. So, but I got a question on Instagram. Well, let's backtrack a minute. On Twitter, which is twitter.com/killerwolffilms. Go ahead, come on and interact with me there too. But hopefully you're interacting with me on my Patreon, which is the best way to support my works. It's patreon.com/killerwolffilms. All my movies are on there. Most of them have downloadable versions now. Put them in your video library, watch when you want kind of thing. The best way to support me is not Amazon and all those other places. If you do, great. If you're anti-Patreon, it's 2023, I understand. but really, the best way is not, Amazon and those kinds of avenues to support me. The best way, for a lot of indie artists out there, I know, and I'm no different, patreon.com/killerwolffilms is the best way to support my works, past, present, future. So I had posted recently on Twitter that I was approached from an actor in Pittsburgh that we could do this professional wrestler slasher movie, right? It's Kane's gimmick, right? For those WWF, WWE people out there, right? It's kind of like Kane's gimmick, I guess, really. But yeah, we've seen movies like WrestleManiac and stuff like that. Oh, you haven't seen WrestleManiac? Well, there you go. But I mean, the concept and stuff I think is cool. So yeah, there's movies out there that maybe approach this kind of thing. I'm going to do it a little differently because everybody knows karate in my movies. So we're going to mix in some cool characters and some wrestling gimmicks and have fun with this kind of film, if it happens kind of thing. But I was approached about it and I said, well, I don't really have a bunch of contacts that I can, I can ask. But I don't want to pursue trying to get a wrestling ring and all these things that are obviously necessities in a film like this. But just so happens I know a lot of professional wrestlers. This gentleman knew a lot of professional wrestlers. We think we have the ring situated, other indie filmmakers. Steve Razinski, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Mine's Kabasinski, so, I'm sure you understand. But, who did films like Carousel and things like that. He had offered to reach out to me he was interested in an acting role, but he's got some indie films like Carousel under his belt that might be able to help me out do some things. And I thought, as we're going along here, I think this could happen. And we kicked around some names: Fear the Crimson Mask, or just The Crimson Mask. Something like that is what it'll probably be called. I'm sure we'll have a promo poster pretty soon. But yeah, so that got developing, so people wondered how that ball got rolling kind of thing. But on Twitter I posted, hey, I'm looking for a scriptwriter. And if you responded or emailed me, direct messaged me on Twitter, and I didn't get to you, hey, I'm sorry. I did not expect, I'm not complaining, but I did not expect the response I got out of it. I literally had triple digit, maybe multiple, we're talking about almost like 200, literally. Emails about people that might be interested in taking a stab at the script. There might be a couple trying it. I mean, anybody can take a shot at it. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll read 200 scripts if that happens. I don't think I would, to be honest. I don't have that kind of time. But people jumped on it within the first 20 emails. I'd say a gentleman jumped on it and really showed a lot of interest and got me stuff quickly. So I'm not gonna. He's probably the writer of this project. We'll see what happens because I told him. Write it. Here's kind of guidelines about what we want to happen in the film, what needs to happen in the film. Every 7 to 8 minutes, I want death scene, gore scene, nude scene, action scene, fight scene, karate scene, whatever. But something's happening in between that stuff happening. That's your exposition and things like that. Develop the character, do that kind of stuff, get the dialogue going, those kind of things. But every 7 to 8 minutes in an indie movie, how many times have you went to Tubi or some other place and saw a boring ass micro-budget indie movie? I don't want to do that. So especially with a movie called Fear the Crimson Mask or something. So I told him, while writing this, keep in mind this has to happen. A sex scene has to happen, and mandatory. Women locker room shower scene has to happen, kind of thing. All those things are like mandatory. Write what you want, use your own creativity, but I'm going to tell you certain things that have to go in. So if that makes sense. But so yeah, that's getting going, and you know where it's at. The process really is, and somebody asked for my process of my writing, and I might have went over this before, so Patreons that are watching this video, thank you so much. But you might have heard this before. My process is usually write an outline. You know, this happens at the start of the film, through the end of the film, outline. Then I start filling in, you know, outline part, you know, outline point 1, part A, part B, part C, whatever, you know, whatever it is, and I start filling things in as I go along. And then once the outline's pretty full with sub things and things, you know, I'll go back and take it apart scene by scene from the beginning. I write generally, you know, pretty linear kind of thing. So that's my process. How other people write, you know, I don't know. But that's how I do it. Outline first, sub-outline or sub-points to each major point in outline, and then go back and start filling in the scene. Sometimes I even put camera direction in my scripts because half the time I'm, you know, doing a lot of that kind of thing. So lately, haven't had to worry about it so much the last several pictures, and I probably plan to keep it in that direction, to be honest. But yeah, we'll call it Fear the Crimson Mask or The Crimson Mask. The schedule really, as it's being written now, hopefully within 2 months, we'll have a fairly polished script. John Mickle Thor from Rock and Roll Nightmare, from my film Pact of Vengeance. Hopefully you saw that. Go watch it on Patreon, people, but it's free on Tubi and places like that. John Mickle Thor said he was interested in it, so I think he will play a character called the Mongoose, which is like a character, an older character that's seen some success in the big time of professional wrestling, and but now he runs his own like school for people that want to get into the business and are trying to cultivate their craft of professional wrestling. So they come to him. So, you know, obviously we have a masked killer, maybe masked, maybe not. Crimson Mask, wrestling fans, you know what that means. It's when you get a bloody face and stuff like that. So wearing the Crimson Mask. So that doesn't mean we're going to have a WrestleManiac kind of villain where he's going to have a luchador mask on or something like that. I'm not promising that. But yeah, so we're going to do that. Write it over the next couple of months. From there, kind of develop the cast. I'm sure I would be contacting people I've worked with before. You guys know I love working with wrestlers and martial artists and people that know action and stage combat kind of things. So I'm sure I'll call a lot of those people. AEW wrestlers, Peter Avalon and Diamante, I worked with before on Pact of Vengeance. They were amazing to work with. I would work with them both again in a second. Diamante, I know, has done a lot of work with, I believe, Ring of Honor, which is owned by AEW, right? If I'm wrong, just hit me in the comments. Tell me, no, that is not. But I think AEW owns Ring of Honor or something's going on there. So I know Diamante's schedule's picked up a lot lately, especially, and I think Peter's has too with that. But I'll reach out to them, see if they were interested. There were lots of people, you know, I contacted for Pact of Vengeance. Before Thunder Rosa's career, like, took off and she was the champion before the Britt Baker feud kind of thing. I thought, okay, you know, I asked about Thunder Rosa being in Pact of Vengeance. That didn't work out. Her career exploded, and then she kind of went and I guess doesn't really wrestle much anymore, especially over the last year or whatever it's been now. But yeah, I talked to several people about it. I'm sure I'll message Peter Avalon and Diamante about it and see if they're interested in a crazy serial killer professional wrestling action horror film. So it sounds cool, right? So yeah, I gather up the cast over the holidays, early winter time, that kind of thing. Once I get some of the cast set, Thor, I said I would work around. I know he's planning already a new album and tour to support it next year. But how great is that? Thor back on tour, right? It's been years. Because he's locked up in Canada, right? Locked. You know what I'm saying? They had those crazy COVID rules up there forever where you couldn't, like, escape Canada, really. But obviously, I think you can now, and he's planning his tour kind of thing, and I'll work around that, and I look forward to attending it. So I don't know what dates I'll tour. It'll obviously, if he comes to Cleveland, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, I'll go to all those shows kind of thing. But I'm maybe up for a road trip somewhere, right? Maybe the Whiskey, right, out in Hollywood. Anyways, we'll work around Thor, and if he's really interested, we'll get him in. So I'll work around his schedule there. But it'll be good to have him on set, that kind of thing. So good, cool, just cool dude. Really good shape too. And I mean, I know he's former Canadian bodybuilding champion or something, but yeah, he's still in great shape. So perfect for a serial killer professional wrestling action horror film, right? So yeah, after gathering the cast up, we'll go to Indiegogo, which we've usually done. It's usually a 3-month campaign, standard kind of thing for Indiegogo, and we'll go from there, which leads me to my next question that I got sidetracked and we went back a little bit on, and that was on Instagram. Somebody had asked me my new commercial spot. It's not really a commercial ad, right? I guess for my new karate school, Iron Phoenix Martial Arts. It just started less than a month ago, but when I got into the space, I knew I had to do some things. I didn't really want to put a lot of pictures and things like that up of it because I knew it wasn't how I needed it yet. It's still not. I still need to get a few punching bags that I want and stuff like that in there, but it's coming along pretty well. And so Iron Phoenix Martial Arts, if you go to Instagram, you'll see my little ad for it. You go to my Facebook, you'll see my ad for it. Or go search Iron Phoenix Martial Arts on Facebook. You'll pull it up. Go like my page. Come on, it's not hurting you. So, Twitter, that kind of stuff, the spot's on there now. So go check it out. But when they saw that, they're like, you're a business owner now. Does that mean you're retired from filmmaking? Or I hope this doesn't mean you're retired from filmmaking. And I said, no, I'm not retired from filmmaking. I mean, Pact of Vengeance just came out to Tubi early this year, right? So, no, I'm not retired from it, but the last couple, to make better movies, especially micro-budget ones, you get more exhausted. And I'm nearly a 50-year-old man. So to make better movies is an exhausting process. So, but, I mean, there's the possibility, too, projects of mine might film next year. So coming up in 2024, I could have 2 films that go into production, with Demoniac still happening and being written right now out in California there. And possibly Fear the Crimson Mask, or the Crimson Mask might happen as well. But for either of them to happen, like I said when we launched the Indiegogo, and this gets back to this dude's original question, hey, Len, are you retired? No, I'm not, but I can't film if we don't raise funds to film. It reminds me on a set, I forget what film it was on. It was something recent. We're like, well, Len, you should put a lot of your own money into it to do that. And I'm like, what? Put my own money, like my paychecks from my day job into it. I've been there, dude. I've been there for a long ass time. You know what I mean? I was putting my own money into things for a long time before, and even on projects, but when my stuff, I think that's up for you guys to say. When my project started to get a little better, I think, I was still putting, my own money into it and things like that. So yeah, when it was saying, well, you should put your own money into these projects, Len, I thought, wow, I've done that for a long time. Before kids, once I had kids, we haven't been on vacation because I was selfish to put my own money not into our vacations, but into film and things like that. I'm not ready to do that anymore. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I have a small Patreon. It's not massive, but that will help. My Patreon campaign can help, after, probably a few months. I could buy like a 4K camera. I'd like to film on the Blackmagic, which Pact of Vengeance was filmed on. Right now, I work with a C100 that's just, HD and it's nice. Gauntlets was filmed on it. Hellcat's Revenge 2 was filmed on it. Swamp Zombies 2 was filmed on it. Those kinds of things. And I thought all those they look good. But it's a 4K world, I think, going forward and with stuff. And I'd like to do that. And my Patreon after a few months can help with something like that. But my Patreon can't make a movie. You know what I mean? It can't fund a $15,000 movie. I doubt I make that in a year. You know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure I don't make that in a year. But you know what I'm saying? That's why it's dependent upon the Indiegogo campaign to get these things done, kind of thing. And if it raises, it's all or nothing anymore. I don't screw around because Indiegogo, well, we can't refund stuff because you said it was all or nothing. So if you make $375 here, I'm like, well, what the fuck am I going to do with that? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's that kind of stuff. So yeah, it would be an all or nothing thing. I don't know what I'd set the budgets at. Something, under 20,000, I'm sure. Something around that area. And if it makes more than that, like Pact, I think ended up making 26 or 27. And then we did put in our own money into that too, which we did it. We got it done, that kind of thing. Not saying it didn't hurt us around the house a little bit, but yeah, I'm not ready to do that anymore. It's going to be an all or nothing. We'll set our budget. If we make it, we film. If not, I'm going to get questions if I'm retired going forward. So that's kind of where that stuff is at. The answer is no, but we got to raise money for projects and be successful there. So, hey, stay tuned. because you'll see more on that kind of stuff coming soon. So that is another episode of my Fist of the Filmmaker podcast. Check it out on YouTube. I got canceled, then my YouTube's starting to come back. Obviously, patreon.com/killerwolffilms. The best place to see behind the scenes stuff, movies, all that kind of stuff. I hope you check it out.